Hey everyone, Paul here with Data Consult Pro. I want to walk you through a sample dashboard we have posted on our website, dataconsultpro.com. In this sample dashboard, we walk through some ways that we would be able to use your data to kind of leverage some insights. I thought kind of one of the best ways to show you is just to kind of show you how we would go about it. And one of the safest ways to do that is to use sample data. So that's what we kind of have going on here. So let's take a look at this view. I'm just going to kind of go through at a high level and some of the key, visuals that we have here and how this might be able to help your business. So this shows you a trend of your charges by month. It also buckets the expected insurance payments relative to those charge months, right? So if you have 6 million in charges in a given month, we say, okay, let's put your expected insurance revenue into that same month so we can kind of scorecard it that way. We certainly have other views where we also go into the timing of your cash flow as well, but this view starts with just kind of trending it from that perspective. And what that allows us to do, right, is to kind of think about, like, historically, where did we expect to collect additional funds relative to what was actually brought in? So we can look at August, for example. There's about $5.4 million in charges in this sample dashboard or data set here. We expected to bring in about $1,073,000. So far, have actually collected $973,000, and so leaving a shortfall of about $100,000. And so we can click into that down here, which kind of shows you a trend of that variance over time, and we can see, okay, what does that shake out to be, or kind of what carrier, what service is leading to that. And we see that NeuroCare ends up being the bulk of that variance, and it's their main second service at $90,000 that ends up being the biggest variance within NeuroCare. So right off the bat, if you wanted to kind of say, hey, if August was a little light on collections, here's an opportunity to potentially go chase down $90,000 of revenue by having your team focus on this main second service for NeuroCare, a specific carrier. And I kind of click off of that. Another useful thing to kind of think about down here is essentially a trend of, what is every charge dollar worth from a forecasted perspective. So this is forecasting history, but it's also obviously forecasting kind of the future. So when we go into January, this is essentially saying for every dollar of charge that you've generated in January, how much are you actually expected to collect from insurance? And this is really designed where it's going to really just isolate the mix of the insurance companies and a mix of charges to really kind of show how that's changing, right? And so essentially, you can kind of think about that too. If you have $1 million in charges, right? If all you do is change the mix going from October to January, you would have had about 200,000 expected for October on that million. That same million in charges in January, you would have only expected $150,000 in revenue, right? So same charges, just changing that mix leads to that. So you can kind of think about one of the goals for your organization as you use this could be, finding a way to optimize that payer and service mix where you have, your kind of charge efficiency down here, you have that above, let's say, a certain threshold, right? Because if you can find a certain way to optimize and get that above a certain threshold, right, and be able to track that, understand that, that can be a very meaningful way to drive additional revenue in your business. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the next visual. This next visual is just kind of a dive into, did the payer, did they actually pay, yes or no? And so this isn't so much about how many dollars have been collected. This is just kind of saying, has it been paid at all? And so we can kind of use this. We can use Andrew Guard as a starting point. This is looking at all of 2023. So we have the different months in 2023 listed here. And then we can see month by month, what was actually paid versus not paid. And so we can see 87% is the average so far for 2023. But then February also kind of jumps out, right, that they only had 59% pay. We can quickly drill into that and see the details making up that. And we can further see that for EnduroGuard in February, that their main second service had 158,000 in charges. And on those charges, we expected an additional close to $30,000 in revenue that wasn't brought in because it just wasn't paid, right? So being able to kind of focus those collection efforts to say, this isn't being paid, we would have expected $30,000 in revenue. Is there an opportunity for the team to go chase down that collection? And then another useful part of that too, so again, we can kind of look through those trends, look through those details, which can absolutely be valuable. But to make sure you're not missing anything, this page summarizes anything that is essentially underperforming from a forecast perspective, and it puts it all onto one visual. So you can kind of figure out like what the biggest carrier is, and then from there, either the time period or the service is taking place. So this neurocare again pops up as being one of the biggest ones under forecast in total. So you're expecting an additional $275,000 under this time frame. If we drill into that, we can then see the service behind that, and we can see the time frame. So we can say it's okay. The second service from February 2023 has about $75,000 in additional revenue that you potentially could collect. And we can also see relative to that too, what percent is already paid, right? So it can be a good way to kind of like prioritize your collection efforts, understand how much money could be out there if you got them to collect essentially what we were originally expecting them to collect, right? So there you have it, just kind of a quick high level overview of what this sample dashboard can offer for your business. There's a lot more to the sample dashboard than this. But if you're interested and you want to learn more, I think it could absolutely make sense for us to block some time. So if you go to Data Consult Pro, there's a button in the upper right hand corner. You can block some time for us. We can absolutely go through this, talk about how this might be customized to your business. So would love to set up time with you, and thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.